This is my most repeated recipe from this book, probably because of its pure simplicity and tastiness. There are only 3 ingredients to the original recipe: linguine, garlic oil and pancetta. I do make my own little tweaks to this, even beyond the plant-based makeover, but it still takes no time at all to make. I, for instance, like to add an onion. But before we get to all that, let's discuss the strangely grey looking blob next to it. Or rather, let's talk about vegan bacon. There are a lot of vegan bacons or Facons in the supermarkets you could use here, and all of them would work. Just cut them into strips or chunks and fry. If you're not a fan of fake meats, you could use firm tofu. Smoked tofu would work well, or a simple marinade of soy sauce, smoked paprika and maple syrup makes a good substitute. That same marinade could also be used on mushrooms or carrots or a whole array of vegetable subs. Take a look at Sauce Stash's experiments, or do a quick online search and you'll be amazed at the number of Facons there are. Inspired by Sauce Stash, I thought I'd have a go at making my own seitan bacon, and whilst I enjoy experimental cooking, my success rate with seitan meats is pretty low. So I'm not going to do a step-by-step here. If you want to make some Facon, then I suggest you watch the original Sauce Stash video. But these are my ingredients, except for the miso. I got that out by mistake, so ignore that. I drained a tin of chickpeas, reserving the aquafaba because it will all get used in this. Then I measured out my Vital Wheat gluten flour. I chose to make the white, fatty, fake part first, as that would mean I wouldn't have to wash out the food processor in between the 2 doughs. I did add some onion powder for extra flavouring and some vegetable suet as an experiment on Sauce Stash's recipe here. Then I used almost exactly the same ingredients for the pink dough, except that I didn't have any liquid smoke, so I just subbed in some extra smoked paprika instead. I also added some nutritional yeast, which I don't think was in the original Sauce Stash recipe, but Sauce Stash had suggested adding it to seitan in a different video to improve the texture. My white dough was definitely softer and stodgier, but anyway, I left both of them to rest for a few hours and then attempted to layer them and rolled the slabs in cling film, put it in the freezer to firm up. Because I wasn't sure about my success, I pulled it out of the freezer an hour later and I fried a piece up. I couldn't get it very thin, even with extra rolling, so it was a bit chewy, but it tasted okay, and there was a definite difference in texture between the chewier pink part and the softer fattier part, which was interesting. I then chopped a chunk off for later use and returned the rest to the freezer, but the separate piece was stored in the fridge and it decided to turn grey, as dough tends to do, which was a little disappointing. But anyway, back to the actual recipe. I sliced 1 onion and then I chopped up my Facon meat so they were both ready to be put in the oven. I did add some extra smoked paprika to the Facon to just bring out the flavours a little bit more, and then because I didn't have any garlic oil, I put on some olive oil and I added some garlic powder. Crushed garlic would probably have tasted even better, but I was working with what I had to hand. I then stirred all that in together and popped it in the oven at about 180 degrees whilst I got the spaghetti ready. Now you can actually just fry your Facon, and if you're using it, onion and anything else, in a frying pan at the same time as doing the spaghetti, rather than putting it in the oven, and I would quite often do that instead, but as I was following Nigella's recipe in this instance, I did put it in the oven and just worked on the spaghetti. And whichever way you're doing it, at the end just stir your spaghetti in with your meat and anything else that you've cooked with it, like the onion, so that it soaks up a bit of the garlic oil, and then serve it up. We had ours with a couple of slices of vegan garlic bread, some cashew parmesan sprinkled over the top, and also used up some coriander and mint yogurt sauce from a previous meal, and it worked perfectly. Whenever I have vegan or plant-based bacon in the house, I always make this recipe because it is so easy, so simple, it's done in no time at all. Whether you add an onion or not, it's still really easy. And most importantly, it is really tasty, and that's what makes it the perfect evening meal. It's very difficult to get this wrong. I personally would prefer to make this just in a frying pan because it's a lot easier to do everything on the stovetop. Would I make the seitan bacon again? Probably not, because I'm not very good at making seitan in general. It never seems to work for me. However, it is a really good way to save money because you're making quite a lot of it in one go, so I would recommend it from that point of view.